Let's talk about the Philippines and their perception in the United States of America. So my cousin went to school in the United States of America, in California to be specific. Their Spanish teacher was telling them, oh, how come your Spanish is not good? You come from the Philippines, you should be speaking Spanish. Without realizing it, this Spanish teacher, as well as a lot of Latino Americans, repeat stuff that is not correct from the colonial period. So to contrast this a little bit, look at other Southeast Asian countries. Nobody says that Bahasa Melayu is an offshoot of English, or that Bahasa Indonesia is an offshoot of Dutch, or that Vietnamese is an offshoot of French. The Philippines is pretty unique with this. And if you actually look at the Tagalog language, it is not a Spanish language. It is not derived from Spanish at all. It is instead an Austronesian language, so it is a direct cousin of Bahasa Melayu, of Bahasa Indonesia, and it is a slightly more distant cousin of Hawaiian. People who grew up in the Western world are also only able to recognize Spanish loanwords, and they assume that all words must be Spanish. For example, the word puto, where Latino Americans have told, oh, I wonder how this Spanish word actually ended up meaning rice cake in the Philippines, and it doesn't, because the loanword is from Tamil. And we also see this with many other aspects. So Westerners are unable to recognize Sanskrit loanwords in Tagalog, or Bahasa Melayu loanwords, or Chinese loanwords, because all they know is Spanish. They are limited to a very Western-centric worldview and can't recognize anything else. Now, why is this, of course? If you look at when the Americans first came to the Philippines, I'm trying to be very advertiser-friendly here, so please do read between the lines. Authors like Rudyard Kipling, who wrote The Jungle Book, talked about the arrival in the Philippines as the white man's burden. The Western people had, quote-unquote, the obligation to civilize us, and therefore anything that was civilized or cultured could therefore not come from us. It had to come from them. Previously, I mentioned how Filipinos who left the country before 1992 oftentimes were taught in school that the Philippines didn't have writing, that writing was introduced by the West. And Filipinos who grew up abroad oftentimes also don't know about any Filipino writing systems. Filipinos were also oftentimes depicted as caricatures in US newspapers back in the day, and Americans would frequently use the N-word to describe Filipinos. So for you at home, what I want you to understand, whether you're Filipino or you're Latino or you're whatever, is I want you to re-examine how you view the Philippines and how you view people of color in general. As folks from the margins, we oftentimes are able to sort of recognize bad behavior directed towards us, but we oftentimes fail to recognize that the way we perceive other groups is through the lens that the Western person introduced them to us. And so we oftentimes repeat prejudiced notions because we never question our base assumptions.